Hello, Grade 9 learners. Welcome back to our Music 9 class. In our last lesson, we talked about the different vocal and instrumental forms of the classical period. Today, let's do a quick review before we move on to the great composers who brought this music to life. Let's start with instrumental music. First, we studied the sonata, a multi-movement work for solo instruments like piano or violin. It usually has 3 movements, allegro, andante, and minuet, and is often written in sonata allegro form with exposition, development, and recapitulation. Second, we learned about the concerto, a multi-movement work for a soloist and orchestra. It highlights the skill of the soloist and often features a cadenza, a show-off passage for the performer. Third, we explored the symphony, another multi-movement work, but this time written for the entire orchestra. A symphony usually has 4 movements, balancing fast and slow sections, dance-like forms, and a lively finale. Aside from instrumental forms, the classical period also gave us vocal music, especially opera. There were 2 main types: opera seria, which was serious and dealt with heroic or tragic stories. Opera buffa, which was comic, lighter, and showed everyday characters with humor and satire. So, whether instrumental or vocal, music in the classical period was about clarity, balance, and expression. Think about it. If you were living in the classical period, would you rather attend a grand symphony in the concert hall, or watch a funny opera with everyday characters? Interesting choice, right? Now that we've reviewed the important forms of vocal and instrumental music, it's time to meet the musical geniuses behind these masterpieces. Let us meet the big 3. While there were many classical music composers, these 3 masters stand out and are known as the first Viennese school. We are going to meet them today. Let's talk about Franz Joseph Haydn. He was born in Austria and came from a poor family, but he worked hard and became very successful. His life is often called a rags to riches story. Haydn is known as the father of the symphony and the father of the string quartet because he developed and perfected these musical forms. He was also admired for his witty and creative style of music. Some of his most famous works are the Surprise Symphony, the Clock Symphony, and the Military Symphony. Aside from symphonies, he also wrote chamber music, piano pieces, and choral works. Haydn lived a long life for his time. He died at the age of 77. This was Haydn's famous composition for a sudden loud chord in a quiet movement, supposedly done to wake up anyone who was sleepy or dozing off. This clock symphony features a steady, tick-tock rhythm in the second movement. Now let's learn about Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. He was born in Salzburg, Austria, in a family of musicians. His father dreamed that he would become a child prodigy, and he really did. At just 3 years old, Mozart could already understand chords. By 6 years old, he was playing the piano and violin. At 8 years old, he wrote his first symphony, and at 13, he even went to Italy to learn and get inspiration from great composers like Bach and Handel. Mozart composed in almost every type of music: symphonies, operas, concertos, and chamber music. His famous operas include The Marriage of Figaro, Don Giovanni, and The Magic Flute. Some of his famous instrumental works are Eine kleine Nachtmusik, piano sonatas, and Symphony No. 40. His music is loved for being balanced, beautiful, and emotional. He was truly a master of both light, catchy melodies and dramatic, powerful operas. Sadly, because of poor money management, Mozart struggled financially in his later years. He died very young, at the age of 35. Mozart composed the Magic Flute, Die Zauberflöte, at the request of its librettist, one who writes the libretto or the text of an opera, his friend Emanuel Schikaneder, to provide a new kind of Singspiel, spoken dialogue, for Schikaneder's suburban theater, aiming to combine accessible folk tale elements with the philosophical ideals of the Enlightenment and Freemasonry, a brotherhood both Mozart and Schikaneder belonged to. The opera was conceived as a celebration of reason over superstition and the moral equality of people from all social classes. Eine kleine Nachtmusik is not a story, but a serenade by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart completed in 1787, meaning, a little night music, and originally written for a string quintet. Lastly, let's talk about Ludwig van Beethoven. He was born in Bonn, Germany, into a musical family and showed talent at an early age. His father trained him strictly because he dreamed that Beethoven would be as great as Mozart. Beethoven became one of the greatest composers in history. He is famous for bridging the classical and romantic periods in music. He composed 32 piano sonatas, 9 symphonies, many string quartets, concertos, and choral works like Missa Solemnis and Fidelio. Some of his most famous works are Symphony No. 5, Symphony No. 9, Choral, and the Moonlight Sonata. What makes Beethoven truly inspiring is that even though he became deaf later in life, he never gave up composing. That's why he is remembered as the deaf genius, a symbol of determination and passion for music. Beethoven's Symphony No. 5 was composed between 1804 and 1808, a period marked by the composer's increasing deafness and transition from the classical to the Romantic era. The work famously begins with a short long motif, interpreted as fate knocking at the door, and chronicles a journey from struggle to triumph across its 4 movements. Music in this period was mostly simple yet pleasant, with clear and melodic tunes. Unlike the complex style of the Baroque period, classical music became more homophonic, meaning one melody with accompaniment. Most instrumental works had 4 movements, each with themes. Common forms included the sonata, concerto, symphony, and opera. The piano also became a favorite instrument during this time. By the middle of the 18th century, Europe embraced a new cultural movement called classicism. This was seen in architecture, literature, and especially in music. Orchestras became bigger, and instrumental music was often supported by the nobility or aristocrats. Composers of this era wrote music that was simpler and easier to enjoy. They created music not only for courts and palaces but also for public concerts and outdoor performances. They also highlighted the beauty and capability of different instruments in their works. The audience for classical music became more diverse. At first, it was mainly enjoyed by the nobility and aristocrats. But eventually, even the middle class listened to it and some even studied music themselves. This made classical music more popular and accessible. To sum up, the classical period was all about balance, simplicity, and elegance in music. Okay, class, for your activity 3, I want you to answer in your notebook. Please write your answers in capital letters only and make sure there are no erasures. Take your time, do your best, and follow the instructions carefully. That's all for today's lesson. See you next meeting, grade 9.